Hey guys, it's Charlie. It is the 14th of June, Monday. Over the weekend, obviously the news was rightfully so dominated by the oil spill. At least the serious news was dominated by the oil spill in the Gulf, which is a unbelievable disaster. Um, and it's such a difficult subject to do a video on for me because the anger level just goes through the top of my head when I start looking into the corruption at the oversight agencies that were supposed to be watching out for this kind of thing, and the absolute incompetence of the administration in handling this deal. And it just goes to show you that incompetence permeates Washington. You don't get to be ahead of any agency in Washington, D.C., it seems like, by being a competent individual. You know, it seems to be, if you are good at polishing the apple, then you're going to end up somewhere. Not because you're good at handling a disaster. And that has been proven in administration after administration. You know, just like the true nature of politics, there is no left and right. There is no Democrat and Republican. There's two parties that serve one master. So true, too, is true the fact that incompetence runs rampant in both so-called parties. The response to Katrina, an absolute failure. The response to the Gulf of Mexico disaster, an absolute failure. So with that being said, I wanted to talk about a story that might have went under the radar to you over the weekend, which is a $50 billion stimulus for the stimulus, bailout for the bailout, a rescue for the recovery. I mean, Obama's now urging the House of Representatives to pass the Senate jobs bill, which is going to hand $50 billion out more to the states so they can cover police, firemen, teachers. You know, at least that's what it's alleged to do. And now, you know, I have my doubts that it will actually go to any of those things. You know, we're finding out now that a lot of the stimulus money went, you know, far away from creating a job and more into a special interest back pocket. You know, but what difference does it make? We're talking $50 billion. This is going to save the day on the fragile recovery. It's touted as being sold on that line. And the fact is, you know, if $50 billion could do it, then, you know, I'd be all for it. But when is this insanity coming to an end? You know, when is the bailout mentality going to absolutely destroy this country? You know, my answer to that question is really easy. It already has. You know, the game has been set up. The pieces are in place. And right now, the only people that don't know they're being taken for a ride is the vast majority of the voting public in this country. More and more of them are waking up. I think that's true. But still, the vast majority who are sitting there thinking that we are truly in a recovery and that if we just spend another $50 billion, it'll keep it going, they are absolutely duped. And when they wake up one day, it's going to be when you read headlines in the New York Times or the Washington Post, like this article's from, that austerity must be implemented nationwide in order to save our country. That's when they're going to wake up and realize, oh my God, what has happened to this nation? How could we be in this position? How can us, the greatest country in the world, be in the grips of tyranny? Because it's coming. I don't care how you slice it. The end of the day, the world is going to turn their back on the United States because we've managed to gobble up the resources of the world. We've managed to create products that have bankrupted the world. And we're going to eventually be asked to pay the piper. Unfortunately, when that day comes, you're going to be handed an answer. You're going to be handed a solution. You probably won't take it, but your neighbor will. And what will that solution be? Trust me, it's not going to be a return to a constitutional republic. Let's take a look at history and see what happens at the edge of a depression in order for a nation to get out of it. You have tyrannical leaders such as Adolf Hitler stepping up to the plate, merging the government with private businesses, calling it fascism because that's exactly what it is. And you have a totalitarian state that will dictate to you every aspect of your life. And a lot of this nation will stand up, just like the Germans did in the 30s and in the late 20s, and say, give me more, because they will be sick of living an austere lifestyle. These days are coming, guys. There's no way around them. I don't know what you would have to be done to you to be convinced of that. But the facts are simple. We are in far worse shape than a lot of countries that are implementing austerity measures right now. The only reason we have this footing that we do have is because of the fact that most nations around the world are still relying on our dollar to back their reserves. When that day comes to an end, so will this dream these politicians have created called the United States of Corporate America, or oligarchical rule. So hang on. It's going to be bumpy. I'll attach this article so you can read how $50 billion more that we don't have is going to be spent. But for now, that's all I got.